husband and I were sitting at the table, and he loves to make me beautiful breakfast. And I was reading the New York Times, and I read an article that said that the owner of the red wheelbarrow in William's famous poem had been identified. Now, of course, I knew the poem, but had I ever thought of who owned the wheelbarrow? No, I hadn't. And this is the man who owned the wheelbarrow, Thaddeus Marshall Sr. He was a vegetable vendor in Rutherford, New Jersey, the same town where William Carlos Williams lived. William Carlos Williams was a doctor poet. So in addition to doctoring, he wrote, and in fact, he would have loved to have lived his life writing, but he realized he couldn't do that. So he fit in his writing around his doctoring, like so many of us do. We cannot always pursue just our passion. So Thaddeus Marshall was a patient of William Carlos Williams. And one day, William Carlos Williams looked out the window and he saw a red wheelbarrow with rain and chickens. That wheelbarrow wasn't being used that day, right? William said he thought that was the most significant thing he had ever seen, the most heart-rendering scene and the most important thing he had ever seen in his life. And when he wrote the Wheelbarrow poem, it became his favorite poem. So it's not only his most famous poem, it was his favorite poem. So when I learned this about Marshall being the owner, I cut out the article, I took my little moleskin notebook that my friend Patty had given me to Italy, and we went off to Venice. We had a wonderful time, then we took a train, and I really very rarely sit down, which is not really good if you want to be a writer. So I was sitting, I had relaxed, which is another rare thing for me. And I started to think about the two men, and I wanted to write a parallel story. So I just began. I always write in longhand first. That's like important to me, something about the brain-hand connection. I have to write with a pencil or a pen. And so I have scraps of paper all over the house with scribbles all over them. And I began to write because I thought about the respect that they had for each other and how their lives, they both worked hard, they were part of the community of Rutherford, New Jersey, they lived within a few blocks of each other, and I just love that story. It just spoke to me. And writing, as we said, right, is all about emotion. Yes, students? Yes. So that's where my inspiration came from.